whatever it is, how are you getting your teams up to speed on the tools, which ones to use, how to safeguard them? Is this still at the thought process level? Is this in production, or not production, but in your standard process today? How are you going about educating people?
There isn't a great answer here, but here is what we have done, right? We created a very small innovation team, right? So necessarily didn't go pick it up, you go and innovate. Instead, we were just waiting for someone to raise their hand and say, oh, here's a new technology I wanted to experiment first. So that's how we, whoever raised the hand, I wanted to try, whoever coming up with a prototype. There's a few individuals in a very large organization usually comes up with some ideas. They're curious kids, usually come up with that. That's the team where we started out with. We called them as Innovation Lab. They came up with the idea. Then the senior management got involved. The senior management looking at from the perspective of what's the market risk. What does it mean to our internal organization? What does it mean to our external customers? What does it mean to our products and services that we are delivering to the market? While they are looking at from the broader perspective, right? The boots on the ground is exploring this technology, try to create the first chat interface within the organization to see how does that look like. What is the cost of running chat GPT like application inside the organization? How many tokens are really being utilized? Did we put that money in the budgeting for next year or not, right? So we are organically growing it. And bottom up, we are organically growing from the innovation perspective. The other thing that we are doing is we published a disruptive technology series of papers and getting these individuals to come to the town halls to talk about it, write the white papers and send it through the company newsletters on here is a technology, here is what you really need to be aware of, what the safeguards associated to that. It's coming from bottom up in my organization.
Yeah, we've got it going both ways. I'd say like our CEO is very committed to sort of applying this throughout our product line. So we've got every team to some extent. We had an offsite about a month ago, really challenging everybody to sort of think about like how does this disrupt what it's such a cliche word, but anyway, how does this disrupt what you're doing, and how can you apply this in your domain? At the same time, we were fortunate enough we had an R&D team who had been working in the space even really sort of before this all blew up, and so it's only made them sort of more valuable and more able to sort of help other people step up. But a lot of it is we're fortunate. People are really curious, and a lot of it is unstructured sharing in our Slack channels and emails. I mean, everybody wants to know how to do this and how to apply it to what they're doing. Not just your engineers. I think you'll find that probably every department is trying to figure out how this affects them. And, we're trying to engage that, and get everybody thinking about it.
I like that. I really like that model, that organic growth and have a focused team doing this work, so it's not disrupting everybody else. I really like that. One unique thing we did in our organization is to, anytime a technology, just disruptive technology that comes in like this, before we vetted through that we actually have a value add to this technology or not, we try it out internally first to see if can we improve the productivity of our engineering organization or data analytics organization first, before going out to the customers, getting customers excited about this, right? And by this way, it's almost like eat your own dog food, right? So we have our own user interface, we tried it, we got the answers, we vetted through the answers to make it look good, right? And then try to perfect it, right? Which model performs best, which model is more economical for us to use, how do we augment our data to the existing model, or do we have to go get a plain model with no data associated to it that we train the model, so that if we train the model, then we have additional options that we could add some flavors, right? We try all of this. While we are doing this research, we give a high-level information to our customers, abstract level information, so that customers are aware that we are thinking about it, we are doing it, we are operating in this capacity, but then in the engineering house, there's a lot of activity happens, right? That's how we are experimenting inside our house.
And John, you want to speak on behalf of what KMS is doing?
As you may have inferred, our CEO is deeply interested in this, and we have launched.
What a smart guy.
We have actually an enterprise-wide training program that we're bringing folks into. We're leveraging some of the free training that showed up in the domain. We're building some training collateral of our own just to familiarize people with the process of using these tools so that they can become more efficient at it. And I think it's definitely caught fire and the interest of particularly the more technically minded folk, and we're getting a pretty good response. It seems to be working both from the formal training and the word of mouth, just as you're talking about practice sharing. Hey, how did you do this? Have you tried this? That kind of collaboration work. So we're seeing some pretty good, what I would consider good uptake in folks figuring out how to use it on
Because I can't resist answering my own question. On this one, there are a couple other things. There's the organic, just bottoms up that I think everybody is doing, and then there's also the top-down training, in our case by roles. So what's different for an engineer versus a tester versus DevOps versus production support? Not all the same, right? So those are things that I think the way probably that you talked about it in terms of really understanding it internally extremely well, and then rolling out, in our case, neither of you have a consulting arm to what you do, KMS does. In our case then, we're ready to talk about how do we help our clients understand how to do this, because my suspicion is that there's a wide range of how far along different companies are, right? And so this is not a KMS sales pitch. I'm not going to go through that any further other than to say we are very much thinking about how do we help our clients, but it has to begin with how do you use it internally.
And I think you mentioned the various the operations teams, the engineering teams. I think in terms of just people's satisfaction when all of this is happening on the market, I think it's important to think about like how do they all feel involved, because this is a big push for us. So like my cloud operations team is really engaged. They know what we're doing in engineering, but they also know that it's important for them to think about like how do we monitor this stuff? How do we keep track of cost, just like everything we've been doing? Like, how does this affect my job? How can I use GPT to answer questions about problems or configurations faster than I did before? So there's tremendous opportunity for you to get everybody excited and contributing. Like the more real human brains you can get attached to this problem, I think the more successful you'll be.
That's actually been one of the more successful strategies that we've had, is to go to a group of engineers and say, pick a problem that you're having trouble with. Let's see if we can use this to solve it. How do we engage with these tools to help you solve a problem that's right in front of you today? And we've had some pretty good response with that.